Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. It is playoff season here with my boy Jimmy Johnson. What's good, Jimmy? How you doing, man? It's playoff week. You fired up?
We're good. I'm back from Cali. I'm still feeling healthy, so all is well, and I'm excited.
My man, my man. So we're gonna break it down, go into our mindset as fans, gonna break down this football game, how we match up, provide our predictions at the end. Same old game prep we always do. But it's playoff week. So we're going to bring that energy, some energy that I've been seeing a little lacking from some of you guys out there. Some of y'all been bringing the energy, but I know who really brings the energy. It's BUSR, the official sponsor, the official sportsbook, the official betting partner of Fanatic Perspective. Shout out to BUSR.com/Fanatic. Go hit that promo code today, Sports100FP. Shout out to Ant Ramos, who put down his first BUSR bet. You followed the rule of betting on Bama. I apologize for that, brother. We told you to go Georgia. You went Bama. God bless you. Those of you who followed my word, like my homegirl Maddie, who used our code BUSR.com/Fanatic and used the Sports 100 FP code. She bet Georgia -3. Her first bet she ever placed, Jimmy. She came out a winner on Monday night. So shout out to Maddie. You guys that have been hitting me up saying, I've never bet before, but I'm signing up and I'm placing, first off, appreciate you guys, but it's playoffs now. Wildcard weekend. So many awesome matchups, but we're here to talk about the matchup, a rivalry restored in some sense, Jimmy. So welcome to the show, Jimmy Johnson. Y'all follow him on Twitter at Texas State Johnson. Jimmy.
Yes.
You were in LA this past weekend, and I want to start mindset before we get into, matchups and X's and O's and all that type of stuff. Let's talk as fans for a second.
Yeah.
You just went behind enemy lines, okay?
It was awkward. I was dressed in what I call funeral black. I've got some shades that are gold and reddish, I guess. I brought them. I didn't bring them to the game. I was just like, nah.
Jimmy was out here. Jimmy was out here with stealth look.
Yeah. My buddy Joe Cantu photoshopped that one. That's definitely a Photoshop, as you can tell by the collar. But anyways, it was interesting. They beautiful stadium, right? Outside is gorgeous, hands down. Interior of the stadium, in terms of the concourse and whatever, was pretty plain. It was just kind of like, hey, I'm brand new. They haven't put any pictures on the walls, that kind of deal. They definitely invested majority of their things into the AV production. They called out how much more awesome their video board is than Jerry's, and typical things that we're used to seeing. But it was an impressive inside of the stadium, and shockingly, it was especially for a game that meant so much for the Rams. It was probably at least 50-50, if not 60-40 Niners fans. So we'll see what they look like at Cowboys Stadium. I'm hoping we have some home field advantage. So
it's going to be interesting you say that. So I live here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I've been following a lot of local coverage. Got tangled up with some guys from the Ticket that I was not familiar with on Twitter. So shout out to Corby and Bob Sturm and those guys over there at the Ticket. Welcome to DFW, Steven. And but a lot of the conversation, a lot of the coverage, it's been additional coverage, if you will, if not already, but about the ticket situation and this fear that they're going to come in and buy up tickets and, take over the stadium. As far as I'm concerned, that's our problem. That shouldn't be, that's San Francisco fans, as annoying as they've been, and they were in here on my live with Lando, shout out to Lando show. They were in here on the live we did when they announced this matchup with all their noise and whatever. But that's the energy they're bringing as a fan base, Cowboys fans. We got to match that energy. And we've been a good home team all season long, outside of probably the Denver game. Other than that, I really felt like our home field advantage has been there. I think sometimes it's a little underrated as to playing in AT&T. It's gotten better over the years. And this is a playoff game, and we haven't been in the playoffs since, the 2018, 2019 season, right? When we played Seattle and ultimately LA. I know people act like that never happened, by the way, but it did, right?
Yeah.
And we had great home field energy when we played Seattle in the wild card that year.
Well, I can
have
speak
that same type of energy come Sunday afternoon.
Sure. Yeah, I can speak to that. I was at the Lions game when Romo had his last playoff game there. 110 decibels. Yeah, 110 decibels in that place. Now, mind you, Detroit doesn't travel like some of these other teams do. I was also at the Green Bay game where we took the L.
2016.
Rogers went to Jared, right? So that one also I was a little worried about because Green Bay travels, right? And I will say we held up our end on the crowd. Definitely some fans there, but not overtaking us. These Rams fans at this game, man, these guys are quiet, man. The defense, when they were on the field, the Niners defense, they were chanting defense. They were tremendously loud in chanting defense, and they were disruptive. There was multiple false starts, delays of game. So it was like, okay, all right.
Jimmy, on the TV broadcast, and I think Matthew Stafford confirmed it after the game, he had to go silent count a couple times. Oh, that's embarrassing.
It felt that way home. For sure.
That's it. When you have to start going with your signals and y'all can't talk at home.
Yeah,
bro.
Also, one of my pet peeves for a fan base is when the Niners fans on defense were cheering to be loud, the Rams fans felt the need to try to be louder than them, thus making it just, you know what I'm getting at here. It's a like football 101, like, the band is playing at the college game still while your offense is on the field. It's mind-boggling that people don't understand football at this point. But
yeah. So we've addressed the first part, right? We got to be there. We got to be present, engaged, loud, the whole bit, right? And I think there's another side of this, and I want to hit on this really quickly before we really get granular with these matchups. There seems to be a sense of this nervousness, which every team that's in the playoffs is nervous. You if you want to win, you're nervous. But there seems to be this like legitimate sense of doubt from Cowboys. I don't care if the national media doubts us. They've doubted us since May, since when everybody wasn't picking the Cowboys to win the division. So I don't care if they all pick Dallas to lose or if they think that San Francisco's going to come in Dallas and bully us.
I hope they do. We need that. We need that underdog mentality.
Absolutely. And I've always liked this team. I think Mike McCarthy's a better coach when they're underdog, and they seem that I'm with it. Yep. My whole thing, though, is when we're talking amongst ourselves, right? And we're communicating on social media or fans are being interviewed and the bashing of a lot of the players on this team. Yes, we hold it over their head, the organization, for the 25-year drought of not making it to the Super Bowl and all those type of things. We hold it over their heads for NFC Championship game, lack of appearances, just a general lack of playoff success. That's not on Micah Parsons.
No. That's
not on Trayvon Diggs. Most of this roster, I don't understand all of, even Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's been only his second year, right? Like Dan Quinn. It's a whole new crew outside of the people running the organization. So I think we need to have some sense of optimism based upon the season we've had. I'm going to make this one last point before I hand it to you. I'm a big proponent of enjoying the process.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to every single football game. The regular season games do mean something to me. Beating my rivals do mean something to me. I hate Philly. I hate Washington. I hate New York. Sweeping them, winning 12 games, the records that were broken, Michael Parsons' rookie year, this has been a fun, memorable season.
For sure.
Where I'm going with this, though, is that they now have an opportunity as a group to make it a great season.
Mm-hmm.
We'll always remember this season, regardless of what the outcome is on Sunday. I'm not going to forget what Micah Parsons did as rookie. I'm not going to forget Trayvon Diggs getting 11 interceptions or Dak breaking the record and all of the things that have happened and the sweeps.
Mm-hmm.
But they have an opportunity to take that from a really, really fun, memorable season that I'll smile when I remember it to, wow, that was the start of something. Or that's where we really, really turned it around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for the fans that have been around, and by being around, I mean, our age group that have seen multiple titles personally, and then also have seen kind of the years of the Quincy Carter and the struggles. You really do have to appreciate what this team is doing this year. A lot of the
Last
narrative,
year,
yeah,
we won 4 games.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you wanna put the dark cloud over Dak and Zeke for their rookie year on what happened with Green Bay and coming out flat off a bye week, fine, right? Like I get it. They have to be better, but I'm also gonna go, hey, it was their rookie year, right? Like, what do you expect rookies to do, right? They
And
have
they
to
put up
learn.
31 points at the end
They
of the
did
game.
come all the way back, right? And it's just one of those deals where, like, unfortunately, we've had so many of those just like knife in the back, heartbreak losses, right? And it just ended in true heartbreak, like we're used to. So I would just hope that for this game this weekend, it's we're not, because we've seen a little bit of it this year where we're overlooking these opponents, right? We should have never let the Raiders do what they did to us, right? Like there's games that we should have easily taken care of business, but we didn't. So I think there's a little doubt in that sense. But at the same time, I think
Do
majority of
you
what's
consider
driving
the
that.
Raiders a bad loss, though?
Well, not
Because they've
anymore. I
done
mean,
that to half the league at this
so
point.
yeah, and I'm on record with a lot of my friends saying the most bipolar team in the league is the Las Vegas Raiders, hands down. I mean, they look just flat awful one week, and then they look like they could go all the way another week. So, at the time, yes, it felt horrible. Where I'm at now is like, okay, I feel a little bit better about that. But at the same time, we had Cooper Rush beating the Vikings, which was impossible in our minds at that time. So I think there is some I want to say some good luck factor involved, right? To be good, you got to be lucky sometimes. And we've been pretty lucky this year, I would say, for the most part. We've had some things go our ways with a lot of situations. So I feel confident in our team. I said on the last video that the 49ers to me felt like a very favorable matchup. America disagrees. I obviously would rather play Philly because it's Philly and we know we could curb stomp them. I'm not even worried one iota about Philly. We just know them too well, and we're just a better team. But the 49ers are they're a running team, right? They're a smash mouth team. They're physical up front. Typically, these types of teams give us trouble. But I would also say all playoff games are going to be trouble for our team. I mean, that's why it's the NFL playoffs. That's why it's hard to make the playoffs. That's why it's hard to win the Super Bowl. You have to have a clean game, a perfect game in some senses, to win. You just do. And to be nervous is normal. I mean, none of these teams are pushovers. So
That's been football in 2021 and 2022. Nothing really makes sense. I think that's why Week 18 ended up being so successful for the NFL. You have a Colts team that we all think is a shoe-in for the playoffs. I believe at one point, Jimmy.
I got to eat crow on that one. I was talking about Carson last time. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
But you go on BUSR, official sponsor, official sportsbook, official betting partner, Fanatic Perspective. Colts are 16.5-point favorites. In Jacksonville, that has 2 wins,
Yeah.
and they don't even lose; they get smoked. Not
Trevor's been pretty bad this year. Yeah.
Right, and so nothing makes sense. I mean, and then you factor in the COVID and the injuries and everything that's come about. That's why through the whole storm, Dallas. All the things you brought up, like us losing to the highs and the lows, right?
Mm-hmm.
We go into the bye week, going to New England. We knew we hadn't won in New England in almost 30 years. We go and break through and beat Bill Belichick, and we're rolling. And then the bye week comes, and guys start going down.
Yep.
And our energy starts. We're up and down. But I look at all of these teams, and outside of the Packers that got consistent, the rest of the league has some unexplainable things that happen to them. And so, like you said, this playoffs, it's really really unpredictable, but
Mm-hmm.
unpredictable in the sense of I think you're going to see some craziness happen. Nothing
Yeah.
is for. There's only one game out of all these matchups where I'm like 90% sure that team's going to win. There's one game. There's one matchup like that, right? And so I want to get into our matchups though. Playing the
Yep.
49ers, a lot of talk. Right now, let's start with our offense led by Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, this offensive line led by Zach Martin. How do we match up with the San Francisco 49ers, Nick Bosa, all those guys over there, dominant front seven that they bring to the table? What did you see, in person, and what's your outlook? Because you saw them up close and personal.
Yeah.
Go after Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and those guys last week.
Well, I mean, the first half of that game is a lot of the narratives you hear about that team, meaning the 49ers. Jimmy G, right? He's as bipolar as any quarterback in the league. He came out, he looked horrible. The pass rush was bothering him. They had short fields. They were flat out dominating them in the first half. So Jimmy threw a couple picks, I believe, in the game. So, when it comes to our matchup with them, if I can tell you with our offense, regardless of what happens, if Jimmy throws 2 picks, we're going to win the game. Like but
I want to touch on that when we talk about their offense.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to hone in on Jimmy and those guys.
Yeah, they just the other piece is the running game, right? I mean, Debo's a problem. Eli Mitchell's back and healthy, and now the word on the street is they're getting their other young running back, Sermon, back. So they're going to have some backs, fresh, kind of off injury and all that stuff. So they're going to be ready to run the rock down our throat. And I think we have a little PTSD with that. The Rams ran it down our throat too a couple years back, and now mind you, this defense is a lot different. But the interior defense has to have a good day, right? If they don't, the interior defense is going to have a lot of trouble with this run game. And then it's going to be on our offense to have a shootout. So, there was nothing I was surprised by, to answer your question, though. I mean, Jimmy looked great in the second half, average in the first half, was really shook. The second half adjustments really, Shanahan being Shanahan, I think he outcoached his counterpart. His counterpart was dancing in the end zone at one of the touchdowns. I don't know if you noticed that, but which I think probably got Shanahan a little riled up. So nothing super surprising. Stop Debo, but good luck with that, right? Like he's as bad as Tyreek Hill. He's almost an impossible matchup in some ways.
So I hear what you're saying. And I did see Sean McVay go in there, or they were fired up. But when I look at in particular our offense, I'm looking at it from a standpoint of controlling time of possession, or trying to, because that's one thing that San Francisco's been good at, like you mentioned, with their run game. Defensively, in terms of their front seven, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Ard Key, Fred Warner, who does a great job patrolling the middle of the field. I have brother coming in the comments talking about Dre Greenlaw back. I was just here. I hear y'all. I hear you 49ers fans. No one is denying your front, okay? Yeah. Let me introduce something, because 49ers fans have a problem with being humble and admitting their flaws. See, Jimmy and I, we can sit here and be objective and understand that we have a flawed football team, because all of a sudden the 49ers went from being the team that one of the last teams to qualify for the playoffs to this unstoppable juggernaut that has no weaknesses and all this type of stuff, right? And so there's always flaws. There's always a way to exploit somebody. So this narrative that, because it seems that everything I've brought up, they have an answer for it in terms of, oh, that's not an issue. I'm going to tell y'all what your problem is. Your corners. 49ers, Ambry Thomas, you guys are food. Okay? Their corners are food in this matchup. You're starting a 7th-round pick out there. You've been banged up. You got injuries. I like your safeties. I don't love your safeties. Okay? So what I'm looking at is, can I run the ball effectively enough? Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard. Can I get my short passing game enough to where I can really, really exploit the perimeters? Because I think you're going to see a game plan, at least early in the game, similar to what we did many, many moons ago against Tampa Bay, when we knew they had young, inexperienced corners that we could attack on the outside, and we played football on the outside. We didn't give their pass rushers, the Shaq Barretts and those guys, an opportunity to get going, because we ended up playing quick game and we worked on those corners. Ended up, really working out in terms of us being able to keep up with Tom Brady and what they were doing on offense. I think that's something that will also get Dak into rhythm. I think scoring early offensively is important. I don't think we can get into a situation where we were so slow to get started against Arizona. Now, here's one thing Cowboys fans need to understand as well, because all this hesitancy and Dak and the offense, and we've been slow and all this type of stuff. Schematically, San Francisco relies on pressure. They're not going to try to confuse you the way Arizona does. That is what Arizona does, and even what the Broncos do, and Vic Fangio, and he's out there right now. Yeah, that is unique to their personnel and what they do very well in terms of rolling coverages and all that. San Francisco, with those young corners and those young DBs, they don't do any of that. If they're in cover one, they're in cover one. If they're in cover two, they're in cover two. So it's going to be a lot more similar to actually what we see in our division in terms of the coverages. The difference is the fronts are way better football players, which means whether it's Tyron Smith or Terrence Steele, whether it's La'el Collins, they're going to have a very good day. Yeah. That includes the penalties, right? Because when you face better players, they're going to generate a lot of penalties. Yeah. So that's a concern of mine that I have for our guys. Nick Bosa is one of the best in the league at generating holding calls. He's relentless. We got to figure out ways to slow them down so that we can work on these corners. These corners are food in this game to me.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be surprised if I don't know what the number is. I'll be surprised if we rush for 100 yards in this game. I think the realistic number is probably somewhere between 60 and 80 yards. The good news is our offensive line is good in pass protection, probably the best in the league in pass protection. What we're not great at is run anymore. We used to be a great running offensive line, but now it's kind of like, they don't pull as quick as they used to and that kind of thing. So I think we can be serviceable in the run game, and I think how well we actually do in the run game will be on Tony Pollard personally, and how good of a day he has. That being said, I 100% agree with you on the corners, right? We can feast on these corners. The question will be, will our receivers get separation? I would hope they would. We're at home. We play well at home. I think that's a huge factor.
Throwing the ball well at home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers, they're really good on the road, right? If you look at their record on the road, they're solid on the road. They don't play well at home. It's kind of funny. We're the opposite. So I think the matchup's good for us in terms of that. If we were going on the road, who knows? We'd probably have a home game in San Francisco anyway. But I agree with you. The receivers are going to do well. We just got to make sure that they get separation. We got to make sure that Dak gets the ball out of his hands. And then the other thing that I'm a little worried about is Arizona exploited the fact that you can bat a lot of balls down at the line on Dak if he likes to look at that first read. So I'd like to see Dak maybe throw in a little pump fake here and there to get him off the ground. Because if we're going to get the ball out quick, let's just make sure that we're not, losing 2 downs a series from a batted ball. So
that's a good point. And Dak's going to have to be on time as well, right? Yep. And decisive. The same decisive. And this is the thing. People are running these coverages against Dak because he does have great processing speed upstairs. That's one of his gifts, is he's able to see a lot and process a lot very, very quickly. I think sometimes he gets carried away with his mechanics, which sometimes he hits that back shoulder on receivers, especially on in breaking routes. Out routes, he's actually pretty good on consistently hitting the sideline. Those slants, he will hit the back shoulder, or like you're saying, batted balls, right? And so making sure, hey, our mechanics are on point, footwork in the pocket, just the little things, right? Yeah. Now, I will say this, and this is the last wrinkle I want to bring up for the offense, because I think it'll help both the run game and the pass game.
Yep.
Personnel packages. They snuck Blake Jarwin back in there against the Eagles last week. And 12 personnel used to be a staple in this offense.
Yeah.
We really kind of went away from it after Blake Jarwin's injury. I know they like McEwen and they play a lot of Jeremy Sprinkle. I don't really like the way they use Jeremy Sprinkle because they always kind of flex him out and it gives away these dumbass wide receiver screens we've been running.
Yeah.
And that's a nightmare I have is with Kellen Moore. And I hopefully Mike McCarthy's doing a better job of self-scouting of don't give those things away. Or if you want to show it, do a pump and go. Yeah. Don't just give them the screen. I mean, those things at this point, it's the playoffs. People are all over your tendencies. And that is a key tendency that I have a problem with. So as long as we can get it back in our 12 personnel, because shout out to Okoye Media and the breakdowns he does. This is something he hit on immediately. Our run game, when we had Jarwin in there, and we were just the look of 12 personnel was different. Even though he and Schultz are not really great blockers, it's just the look. Because at this point, when we go with our what I call our six guy package or the six thick with Connor McGovern in the backfield, people are starting to key on that too. Of what we want to do. The counter that is going back to 12, which we really haven't been able to do since early in the season. So having Blake Jarwin back, I'm glad that he got work last week. People talking about that Philly game. That Philly game will turn out to be important. I'm going to tell you why in this next segment we do for the defense.
Dalton used to be the weak link in that set as well. And Dalton's arguably Dak's favorite target now.
Right.
So, yeah.
I thought Dak, guys, he couldn't help elevate people's performances. I mean, I watched him work with now a 5th round tight end, and now this guy is going to command $10+ million, and Cedric Wilson's going to command money. And it's just crazy to me the disrespect that some of our guys get.
When Jarwin got hurt, I was worried about that, but Schultz really stepped up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we have good leadership where we work with guys and we develop guys and we draft well. Yeah, I said this last video before we get to the defense: 4,000-yard passer, 1,000-yard rusher, 1,000-yard receiver, 10-sack player. 10 interception player. First,
only because of the NFC East, Steve. It's only because of the NFC East. That's the narrative.
That's the narrative. But we're the only team in NFL history to do that. And more importantly, all of those players were drafted.
Yeah.
Those are players that you guys drafted. Some of them are 4th round picks that have been developed by this organization. They deserve credit for that.
We had a lot of big holes in that Philly game last week, too. Micah didn't play. Tyron Smith didn't play. Anthony Brown didn't play. And we still managed to hang 51. So, yeah.
Now, I want to get to back to the Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan and all these weapons versus our defense, right? Because I'm going to say this. Everybody's been talking about 49ers physicality. Yes, they are one of the most physical teams in the NFL, no doubt about it. Here's my counter to that, if you will. And I'm going to get back to Jimmy G. Mm-hmm. This Cowboys defense has a different energy. Mm-hmm. They've had a different physicality. They've had a different mindset led by Dan Quinn and Micah Parsons. And I feel like 49ers fans, and I've been hearing it because I've been in the Twitter spaces. I've been hearing people chatter, and I've been seeing multiple 49ers fans mention, well, Micah Parsons is a really good edge guy. No, my friend. Micah Parsons.
If I had $1 for every time I've heard about what Micah Parsons does from an opposing team's fan
base, they never
get
it right.
They literally have never watched this dude play football. Like, he is all over the place. He's as hybrid as it gets. He's on the edge. He's in the middle. He's blitzing on stunts. He is 100% not just an edge rusher. Go ahead. Sorry. It just drives me crazy.
It's you know what, though? They're in for a rude awakening because I've seen, and these are win or loss, right? I've had friends of other teams that we've played, some of them that have beaten us, that said, yo, number 11 is a dog. I didn't realize it. For example, when we played the Chiefs,
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes is breaking to his left, and he always does that, throw against his body, cut back to the left when he runs away from the guy.
Right.
And in that moment, he realized how fast and how explosive Micah Parsons was, and that was the strict sack fumble, right? And so defensively, this is a different group. This isn't the same group we brought to the playoffs.
Jimmy G can't run away like Pat does, by the way. So,
would you say
Jimmy G cannot run away like Pat Mahomes does either?
No,
that's a huge factor.
Which is a flaw, right? In terms of mobility. Like we've really done a very good job against guys that are not very mobile. Also, the 49ers aren't a traditional drop back pass team. They want to be balanced and they want to start with their running game, the best running game in the league. Some of the things, so I'm gonna give them some love right now because they it's a formidable opponent. They have the most diverse run game in the league in terms of counter, split zone. Everything in the book, they run it and they throw you off because Kyle Shanahan has been able to master how to make something look the same way every single time, but I'm running something completely different.
Right.
But your eyes are looking the aspect of misdirection. So this is a week where we have to be keyed in and disciplined.
Yeah.
And when you look at the teams that have really gotten gashed by the 49ers is when you add the physicality element on top of the misdirection. That is a tough assignment. We talked about our tight ends. I don't care how banged up George Kittle is. George Kittle can block his ass off.
He's a blocker. Yep.
Juszczyk can block his ass off.
Yep.
Trent Williams is the highest graded PFF player in the league.
Right.
So all I'm saying is I feel as though, as good as those guys are, as physical as Debo runs, I feel as though I have at least the components at all levels of my defense. Give myself a chance and potentially cause some havoc. This 49ers team is not perfect. If you want to piss off a 49ers fan, ask them why they got swept by Seattle this year.
Yep. Well, here's the thing. I'm looking for Randy Gregory to have a big day, believe it or not. Yes, Trent Williams is a great player. I said it at the beginning of the year that I thought Randy Gregory, this was his breakout year. The injury kind of held him up a little bit in the middle of the year. He was on a huge trajectory. Him and Tank Lawrence never played together like the whole season. And here we are, December rolls around and all these guys are finally playing together. And the narrative is like, oh, y'all are just beating a bunch of trash teams. But people are forgetting, but we also are getting healthy at the right time. And that typically doesn't happen for us. We're typically limping in. We've got Romo with a collarbone or a shoulder, or, we've got, our DBs are banged up and gone. Our linebackers are all banged up, concussions, this and that. Sean Lee's got a hammy, whatever it is, right? Like we're always just limping in at this point. I mean, we're pretty strong right now from a health standpoint.
Which also means there's no built-in excuse either.
No, correct.
Right. And you guys could potentially give all of the naysayers out there, if they go and lay an egg and don't play well, or they go and get beat up the way they got beat up in the Denver game, then you're giving everybody, you're validating what everybody is saying against you as well. So there is that component as well.
This is the best pass rush we've had since the 90s. It's not even close. It's not even close. I mean, DeMarcus Ware,
individual pass rushers,
correct,
but as a group, this is the best.
It's not even close. Yeah, and then you throw in the fact that Dan Quinn throws in all these disguises and all that. I mean, it's very dangerous defense. They're a defense that gives up yards. We know that's going to happen. More than likely, Debo is gonna eat. Like I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to get some yards on Diggs. Like that's fine.
Special player.
But all I'm asking Diggs to do is just give me one. Just give me one pick, just make it happen, make a play, all those things. But the guy I'm really, really, really circling on the defense, the guy I really am circling as the guy I think that's going to have potentially a big day is Jaron Kearse. This guy, everybody talks about Micah and the vibe that he brings to this defense, but every time I watch these Cowboys, Jaron Kearse just plays with a different mentality. This guy, I mean, for me, I know he comes from a lineage of football, but this guy is just, man, he just lays licks on people. And for a defense that doesn't get any love on the physicality element like our defense is sometimes, Jaron can lay some licks. So I'll be curious to see what he does because my understanding from everything I've read is J-Ron is going to be spelling Debo a lot, almost like like a spy.
You know,
Um,
you're getting me into the next point. I'm glad you brought up J-Ron. And for those of you guys that are Cowboys fans out there listening, please go check out the Sounds of the Game they do every week. They put them on their YouTube page, the official Dallas Cowboys YouTube page, where the players are mic'd up. It's really, really great stuff. But to Jimmy's point, J-Ron Curse, you get to see his leadership front and center on those clips. There's a reason why he's he actually took over as the defensive play caller, which is unheralded, and the multi-layer defenders. So Jimmy just mentioned J-Ron Curse potentially being assigned to Deebo Samuel. Why is that? Deebo Samuel lines up in the back. He lines up everywhere, right? And he is probably the most versatile offensive weapon in the NFL right now, in my opinion, even more so than the Alvin Kamara's and some of the traditional running backs that split out. Deebo's splitting in, so it's really interesting how he's utilized. And we have the personnel. You have a number 11 that runs 4-3 that I call him the mirror effect, because when we played a Saquon Barkley and we knew, hey, this guy is their everything for the New York Giants, we actually assigned Micah Parsons to mirror him, and we only blitzed him on situational passing downs. J-Ron Curse, same type of lateral ability to at least keep things in front. Now, does he have the quickness and open space to make plays on Deebo? Probably not. I don't think too many guys in the league do. However, that's where team defense comes into play. Angles, team speed. Guys like Keanu Neal out there, the Donovan Wilsons. We're going to have to tackle well as a group and take good pursuit angles. And that's going to start up front going down with all of the misdirection that we'll see. Now, one of the questions I have for you, Jimmy, is going to Micah Parsons. If you're assigning J-Ron Curse, say as a spy, and then you play, some sort of coverage over top of it when he really releases, like he did at the end of the Rams game and was making some big plays, what do you do with Micah Parsons? How are you utilizing him first, second, and third down?
I mean, we've seen a couple games this year where they've asked him to go cover people, and we all know that's not his specialty. He's serviceable. He's better than He's better than James Smith, which isn't saying much. But that being said, you love to see him be a part of the exotic blitz package, right? The stunts, edge. I don't care what he's doing. I mean, one of the things that I was really impressed by in our defense was moving Tank inside. Tank inside has been ridiculously disruptive since he's been back. And where we can throw, even Leighton on the edge or Micah on the edge to kind of, spell either outside or kind of jump back inside. Because Tank demands a double team no matter where he sits. And this is one of the reasons why I think Randy's going to have a good day. Tank's got a double team. Micah's going to get attention. So Randy just has to go be his man. Now, I know that's a tough task because it's Trent Williams. But Randy's no pushover, man. He doesn't get a lot of love on this defense. So we'll see, man. I think
love in the offseason when he gets paid.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
He's going to get paid.
Shout out to Robert Quinn too. I want to give him some love for nobody's talking about that dude, and he was great for us too.
Yeah, he had the most hollow 19 sack season I've ever seen. I'm joking.
I'm my buddy next door, but anyways, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the can we just do the positions, right? I mean, who's got the better QB? I think we got the better QB. I don't think many people would argue that, right? I think the coin flip is who's got the better run game. On paper,
the 49ers do.
Yeah, on paper, you would say, if you didn't know any better, you would say, oh, man, they got Zeke. Like, that's the better run game. But we know as Cowboys fans, I'm going to be real, like Debo and Eli and even Sermon, like they probably have the better run game, especially with their O-line. So I'm going to give that to them. We had the better wide receivers, hands down. It's not even close. Like, Kittle, great. They have the better tight end group. I'll give you that if you want to say Kittle. But
would you say hands down? Why would you say hands down? Because Debo, I would say Debo's the best offense. You can make the argument Debo's the best offensive weapon in the game of both teams.
Yeah, I just think as a group, right? Like, it's like I think most people that are breaking this game down, they're saying, look, you got to slow down Debo, right? Again, almost impossible. But let's just say you did. if they slow down Debo to a reasonable amount of yards, and let's just say he has a bad day, what happens on offense for them? I mean,
so this is the way I look at it. I would agree with you if it wasn't Kyle Shanahan being involved. If Kyle Shanahan wasn't involved and we were looking at it just positionally like that, because Brandon Ayuk, yeah, he was a first round pick. He's a good player. He's not CeeDee Lamb. I agree with you there, right? And so if Debo probably gets the edge on Amari, CD would get the edge on, say, Ayuk or a Juwan Jennings, who's another guy that was drafted late, and he's come on for him. He had some big catches in the Rams game. Yep. The next best pass catcher is George Kittle, but we don't know his. I mean, he looks like the last few weeks he's struggling to run a little bit. Yeah. But so the second, I mean, George Kittle is, when he's healthy, he's an elite tight end, right? And so my whole thing is not necessarily the matchups of, if we shut down Debo, blah, blah, blah. My question is, Juwan Jennings is wide open and people don't even know who he is because their scheme is elite. So and I've seen this with Kyle Shanahan when he was the OC for Washington with Rex Grossman, and they finished 11th in the NFL on offense with throwing to Chris Cooley and all these guys because he's able to conceptually he's able to get people wide open. All I need you to do is just run where you're supposed to go. So that's what concerns me, because if I'm just looking at it, and the thing is, we play a lot of man coverage. We play a lot of man, play a lot of cover one. All it takes is for one person to peek in the backfield and Jimmy's rising up, and now it doesn't matter how good that guy is, he's wide open. So with Kyle Shanahan being involved, now if we were playing somebody that's a lesser offensive coordinator or offensive mind, then hell yeah. So that's where, and I said this, I want to make this last point before we get to the predictions and special teams and all actually, let's get to it right now. The biggest thing, and I mentioned it last game.
You're right. Kyle Shanahan's elite. That doesn't make his wide receivers elite. To be fair.
Doesn't matter. I
mean, it does in the sense that like quarterbacks make receivers better than they are. When they leave the team, they're not a great receiver, right? I mean, you have to be in a good scheme to be successful. I agree with you. But like I'm looking at that wide receiver group that we have, even without Michael Gallup, they're elite. I mean, they arguably the best group in the league. So if we're just looking at it from just like who's the group, like, they should eat, right? They have a bad secondary they're playing against. They should eat. We just have to get the ball in their hands. Cooper's asking for it. CD will get it because he's just open. And then Cedric Wilson, when Gallup's not there, he just plays well. It's just that simple. So
he has better chemistry with Dak. And here's the thing with Cedric Wilson, real quick, just a quick segue for Cedric Wilson is a natural slot receiver.
Yeah.
It's a position he played at Boise State. That's the position he knows. He understands precisely where to be in the middle of the field and how to run routes against safeties, backers, nickels, all that type of stuff. When Michael Gallup is out there, you essentially have three outside receivers.
Yeah.
And so CeeDee Lamb goes inside, and CeeDee Lamb did play a lot of slot at OU, but it's a different type of nuance there. And so CeeDee Lamb is actually not at this point in his career, he's not Justin Jefferson when you move him inside, and you see a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
He will turn his route up too early. He'll run because the other thing too, they talked about this in the Rams game and why Cooper Kupp is so good. Half of Cooper Kupp's routes are option routes.
Yep.
Meaning he's reading the coverage as he's running the exact same time the quarterback is.
Right.
Cedric Wilson is always seeing the same coverage that Dak Prescott is seeing.
They're on sync. Yep.
They're in sync. CeeDee Lamb sometimes would be like, and I've seen it happen because it happened in the Saints game. He's like, ooh, it was cover 3.
Yep.
Oh, my bad. But you see the TV copy and the quarterback throws an awful, it looks like an awful pass, but it's like, the guy, so that's why our offense was humming before when Michael Gallup got hurt, in the Buccaneers game, all the way through. So I think that's something we've learned, which is good, and it's a positive. But I want to get to this point as we mentioned the coaches and everything else here. I've talked a lot about Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is my favorite coach in football. It's been that way. I've watched him developed since he was Houston Texans OC back in the day with Matt Schaub, Andre Johnson.
I can tell.
All those guys. His resume speaks for itself. And if you look at the amount of coaches that have been hired from that Shanahan coaching tree, Matt LaFleur, Mike LaFleur, the Kubiaks, all the Kubiaks, they all run the same type of offense. Kyle just runs a little bit better.
Yeah.
But the thing with this is Dan Quinn is involved.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anybody out there that is equipped psychologically to deal with Kyle,
yep, make
it
adjustments.
should be his former boss.
Yep.
I think this is a big thing that impacts the outcome because Dan Quinn is not running the defense he used to run in Atlanta.
Right.
But he knows Kyle's running the same stuff offensively in San Francisco.
It's going to be a chess
match. One of the things is when somebody was your offensive coordinator for that long, even as a head coach, you're hearing all the plays come through your headset.
Yep.
If anybody understands, it's 3rd and 9, Kyle would normally like to rely on, and he sees a certain formation or a certain look, that's a little bit different than all the other defensive coordinators. So I'm excited to see former boss directly face off against his offensive coordinator. They almost won a Super Bowl together, 28-3.
Yeah, and a lot of people dog McCarthy, right? And whatever you want to say, he won a Super Bowl because of Aaron Rodgers. Fine, I can accept that, but it's still
You're
hard.
not allowed to win a Super Bowl with good players,
right? Right. It's still, Kyle Shanahan, has done quite a bit with, not Aaron Rodgers. To be fair, I mean, he had Kaepernick, he had, Jimmy G, whatever, but. That's not
Kaepernick
right.
was Jim Harbaugh.
Oh yeah, you're right. Good call.
Yeah, Shanahan was still in Atlanta. But,
so it's Jimmy G, right? So
Jimmy G.
Yeah. So I mean, you could make that argument, but at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan, as great as he is, he hasn't won it, right? So that's always a ding on your resume. So they've lost some games to Seattle, like you said. So they're not, without flaw. They're not perfect. So I give McCarthy a little more edge than a lot of people want to give him credit for. And like I think we mentioned it before, if this guy can get back to Green Bay somehow, man, what a narrative that would be. And I think it's time for McCarthy to show what he can do as a coach. We've had such bad coaching over the years that, with the exception of Parcells, that it's nice to feel comfortable in the coach's seat as opposed to, say, Garrett. All he has to do is call the timeouts right. We'll be fine, right? So that's where I'm at with McCarthy and Shanahan. Shanahan is what it is. He's a great OC. He's going to get creative. I 100% agree with you with Quinn. It's going to be a chess match. But I'm really, really interested to see if McCarthy can kind of give a "I told you so" moment in this game. So we'll see.
My biggest thing for Mike, and I'm starting to feel it this week, Jimmy. He's been spicy at these press conferences this week.
Yep.
And you can tell. I think playoff Mike has been activated. They talk about playoff Lenny coming back to Tampa Bay. Excuse me. I think playoff Mike has been activated. He
ruined Washington.
What'd you say?
He ruined Washington a couple weeks back. So, I mean, he came out in the press conference guaranteed to win. Everybody was losing their mind about it. They said, "Don't you know you are the coach for the Cowboys? The accident that's waiting to happen." Blah blah. They flew in their own warmed benches to the stadium. Everybody was losing their mind, and they curb stomped Washington. So, whatever. They're not great. Tyler Heineke. I mean, they were real high on Washington having a chance at the division at that point.
We have the receipts of people picking Washington going into that game. We have the receipts of people that said that, we should have lost in the first one and then the rematch where he hangs them on. There's something to be said. There's something to be said about a coach that dominates the division in which he mannered in which he dominated the division. And 49ers fans, you cannot sit up here and lecture me about how weak our division is, and then you get swept by a 7-10 football team up in Seattle. Goes both ways. Your argument was, well, division games are tough. They know us really well. Well, what's the case with Washington, Philadelphia, and New York? No matter how
Yeah.
bad those teams are, we are all built to beat each other. That's how it works in the NFL. So when you have a coach, because here's how I look at head coaching, right? I think you can win with different types of coaches. I like Kyle Shanahan because he's a chess guy, but I've seen coaches, and we already have a chess guy on the staff. We get frustrated with him all the time, but it's Kellen Moore. That's Kellen Moore's responsibility. Well, Mike McCarthy's responsibility for what we do, because everybody's team is built different. For what we do, Mike McCarthy is here to get this team fired up and have a sense of belief and have a sense of, organization and pride when they hit the field. He has lieutenants at all levels. He has a former head coach as his defensive coordinator with Dan Quinn. He has a guy that's going to be a head coach maybe even next year as his offensive coordinator. He has Bones Fossil.
That got to the Super Bowl, mind you, one of the biggest choke jobs. But yeah, he got him to the Super Bowl on top of that. So
So this isn't a game. The only thing, when we look at Mike McCarthy during the game, there's certain nuances or certain things that he'll chime in on. The biggest thing is, like you said, clock management, the things you're responsible for, paying it. Don't get duped by Cliff Kingsbury like he did with, fake, little trap game stuff where you have to smoke a timeout. Yeah. Other than that, though, Mike deserves credit because when you have a team that comes out and they finish number one in the league in offense, yards, and all that, when you have a team that's 6-0 in the division, that's a reflection of the head coach.
Yeah, agreed.
Nobody else, any other coach in this scenario, same numbers, same opponents, same everything. Y'all are talking about this person as coach of the year.
Yep.
If it's under the same circumstances. But because it's Mike McCarthy and because we have preconceived notions of him, he doesn't get his flowers. So unless unless we get, I agree with something you said off camera, unless we win multiple playoff games, that's probably the only time he'll really get credit. But we're here to say, as fans and people that watch football, not just the Cowboys, but across the league, he is one of the better coaches in the NFL. There's terrible coaches all over the place. Sure. And we could be in a lot worse situation heading into this game than Mike McCarthy. And I've loved his energy this week.
Yeah, for a division that's so bad, we have two playoff teams. One that locked it up well before the 49ers locked it up. So whatever, the NFC East narrative is what it is.
What it is at this point.
Prove it in the playoffs, right? Just prove it. So,
like I said, you want to go from a fun season to a great season. That's the goal here. Now, I will be remiss if I didn't mention. The owner comes out because we got about 5 minutes left here. The owner comes out and mentions Greg Z. And I've been a big fan of our special teams this year. I appreciate their aggression. I know they get penalized sometimes, and Bones gets a little wild with going after some punts. I don't know. As of this recording, you were at the game. The punter got knocked out. So I don't know if we got an update on if he's still in. Mitch Wisnowski is still in concussion protocol. Shout out to Robbie Gould. He pinch hit and had his first punt and did great. But that is
better than X factor around. You lose your kicker, so it's good that you lose your punter versus your kicker because worst kind of worst, you go for it on fourth and hopefully get it. But when you lose your field goal kicker, that's a whole different deal because you can't score points other than scoring on the ground. So yeah, I haven't heard anything in terms of the concussion, but yeah, he did get blasted at that game in LA, and hopefully he'll be there because you don't want anything like that. You don't want any excuses, right? So
yeah, so special teams is going to be key, and just nothing crazy, right? We've unfortunately we've lost a playoff game because of special teams. So it's something to always be mindful of, as well as fielding the ball cleanly, not doing anything stupid where we take the ball at the end zone, and all of those penalties have been problematic across the NFL. I've noticed with a lot of big returns and whatnot. So being clean there and knowing when, if Mitch Wisnowski is not punting for 49ers and they're in a, 4th and 9 at their own 10-yard line, punt block is going to be turned on. Go get him.
Yeah.
Luke Gifford, go get him. All you guys, Goodwin, all you guys. So really, really excited. Jimmy.
I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. One key to win the game. What is it? One player, Whatever you want to say. What is it?
I think we're going to have to run the ball effectively to stay ahead of the chains. I think our run game is going to be important. As much as I've talked about the corners being food, you can't get one-dimensional.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people are going to point at the quarterback, and they will. And some people love picking on Dak. It is what it is. I'm not going to give that energy right now. But at the same token, when you're a really good football team, you can win multiple ways.
Yeah.
And to make sure you keep your advantage of being able to win multiple ways, you got to be able to run the football effectively, and you got to wear down those pass rushers. I think that'll make things a lot easier for us. What say you?
You know, one thing I would like to see, just as a surprise, would be I'd like to see Dak pull out the old zone read every once in a while in this game. We haven't seen that a lot. You got a defense that's very aggressive, and that edge is going to collapse on Zeke or whoever it may be. It would be nice to see Dak maybe get out of the pocket a little bit. I know that makes people apprehensive seeing him run around and all that, but like it would be
Have
okay.
you noticed it's picked up a little bit recently?
Makes me wonder if there's some wrinkles in those packages. So I don't want to say it's going to be the key to the game. I agree with you that the rushing game has got to have some life. We cannot throw it every down and win this game. There's going to be interceptions if we do. Tip balls, bad throws. It's going to be something along those lines. But I'll take it a step further. The O-line just has to play well. If they're eating up front and winning the line of scrimmage, even just a little bit, I think we'll win the game because we're going to control the clock a little bit. We have enough. Yeah. So O-line.
Momentum rides when your offense is playing well.
Yeah. I'm just looking for the O-line to play well. They haven't had a great showing in the run game, in my opinion, all year. So I would like to see them kind of like dispel that narrative of they're going to get pushed around on Saturday or on Sunday. So,
what's your prediction?
I think it's going to be a close game. I don't see us, blowing them out. I don't see them blowing us out, vice versa, especially on the road. I think we'll do enough in the run game to give us some lanes on. They're going to have to cheat up into the box a little bit. We'll get CD and those guys open in the secondary, and I think we'll make a couple of big plays that'll really make a big difference. I'm thinking the defense will get probably one turnover in some way. I'm not sure if it'll be a strip sack on Jimmy or a pick, but Jimmy's good for at least one pick, I think. So that being said, it's going to kill me to say this, but we win by a field goal, 31-28. And I hope Zerline makes it.
So,
yeah.
My prediction is 31-28.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure, because I want to do two things here. I believe the spread is Cowboys -3, by the way.
Yep.
For those of you who are participating in the betting aspect of this. Right. So we'll see if the line moves. Right now, I think it's been solid at 3.
It's got to be a close game, man. These games with the 49ers over the years in the playoffs have just been
well, not necessarily the playoff, because they haven't played them since '94 in the playoffs.
That's what I mean, though. Those games were always nasty.
Yeah, they were. And that rivalry, I mean, that's where we could see the rivalry really come back if this is a legendary game. I think this wildcard weekend, if it's anything like Week 18 was, just unpredictable. I mean, we're in for hell, but we got to be ready for it, Cowboys fans. We got to embrace it. Like I said, we've had fun this whole season. Let's make it a great season, and let's continue to have that fun that we've seen from this football team when they're playing well. My prediction, and I've been wrestling with this, I think this game is actually going to be – I think there's some similarities here in terms of not how the game played out in terms of the opponent, but in terms of game flow to what we saw with Tampa Bay in the very first game of the season, in terms of the flow and the back and forth. But where I think what people don't understand is that this season is so long that Micah Parsons is a completely different football player now, right? And guys grow up, guys get injured, guys are banged up, all sorts of things. So I think those wrinkles will be there. I think Kellen Moore, he's ready to showcase some things in his playoff debut, if you will, right? And so I'm gonna go just in my mind here, I think we are gonna kick some field goals.
Yeah.
Because everybody's been talking about Greg Zuerlein so much, and once Jerry said Greg Zuerlein's name, I think we're gonna kick 3 field goals. So I got us at 30-23. So I do have the Cowboys covering. I think we will turn the 49ers over. Jimmy G has propensity to throw not just in condensed, and he has to make good decisions and take care of the football. I think that's been problematic for Jimmy G. And I have the Cowboys winning 30-23. I am ready for the smoke in the comments from all of you wonderful San Francisco 49ers fans. I appreciate y'all's passion. Y'all just annoying to me right now, but very, very fun, exciting matchup this weekend. Jimmy, real quick, outside of our game, any other matchup in particular you are looking forward to, to watching and seeing Wildcard weekend?
Oh man, let me pull that up real quick. That is a tough one.
So I'm gonna just run through it because I've been thinking about these games. We got Bengals Raiders. So we got Joe Burrow versus Derek Carr. We got Bills Patriots.
Bills Patriots is interesting. Yeah.
And I think we got to check the weather on that game.
There's ghosts in that game. Can the Bills realize that that's not Tom Brady on the other side, right? Like they just got to handle business.
And I'm hearing it's going to be like -2 potentially.
Yeah, I mean, weather's always an issue, right? At this time of year, for sure. But yeah, I'm definitely paying attention to that game, no doubt about it.
Then we have Eagles Bucks.
Eagles Bucks too is definitely one I'll be watching. The Bucks have not looked good the last few weeks. I know they're getting some players back. I think Fournette's coming back.
Playoff Lenny.
Yeah, so we'll see. Obviously, the Chiefs and Steelers is somewhat intriguing.
That's the one game where I'm like ill.
Yeah,
that's the only ill game I have of all the playoff games.
This feels like a Broncos Steelers upset for some reason to me. I don't know why.
Really?
I remember that Tebow kind of.
Dude,
it's got that feel of like there's no way that the Steelers can win, but man, they literally eked their way into the playoffs just barely, and it's just
by the sentence margin.
9-7 Giants ready to upset the undefeated New England. But you know what I mean? It just feels. And I can't.
You must have been hanging out in one of my other group chats because I had a brother today in another group chat back in DC say, "Bruh, I feel like this is the reverse of the Broncos Steelers for Mike Tomlin," because he was like, "Bro, it makes no sense. The line right now for
minus 12.5 right now.
It's 12.5. That's where Alabama and Cincinnati were for context.
Yeah,
right. Like for a playoff game, that is a big ass line."
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs or the Steelers to cover that, no doubt. The Steelers are going to cover that.
Big ass line for a playoff game.
I mean,
in a game where they've already played. This is a rematch. They played recently.
Yeah.
My thing is, I just wanted to see Justin Herbert one more time in the playoffs. I wanted to see the golden boy, the arm and everything, like versus Ben Roethlisberger, who looks like it hurts to throw a ball.
Everybody's focused on the Colts and their collapse, but that Chargers collapse was an all-time collapse. It was an all-time collapse. They were in the driver's seat for the division, not missing the playoffs, but for the division. And losing to the Chiefs on Thursday night, it all just went down the toilet. I mean, they just could not beat anybody after that.
It's a good division, but you're right. They did. That's a team that should have made the playoffs, and you start to wonder about their coaching over there as well for the Chargers. And then you have Rams and Cardinals.
The Rams-Cardinals is easily the best matchup. I mean, this is a divisional game. They got to play again.
First Monday night playoff game.
Great teams. Yeah. I mean, it's in LA, so who knows what kind of, crowd you're going to have.
Thank God we didn't get the Monday night playoff game.
I mean, the Rams are a 4-point favorite right now. I'm like, that's going to be a tight one too. I can't see that one.
And they split.
Yeah, they split. I think the Rams are going to pull it out personally, but we'll see. That's going to be a good one. But Yeah, for selfish reasons, I'm watching the Tampa game and the KC game as well, because I think those are probably the most entertaining in terms of like potential upsets. Or
Okay.
I don't want to say potential upsets on from a scheme
The
standpoint.
Steelers, if the Steelers won, that'd be one of the biggest playoff up. That would be one of the biggest upsets in playoffs.
You just never know, man. NFL's crazy,
You're right. You got a quarterback with Roethlisberger, the experience, and you have a great head coach with Mike Tomlin. All it takes is them staying close, making it ugly, making the Chiefs sweat at home.
Yeah. Never know. We'll see. It's all on Ben, right? Ben has been a bipolar player as well this year. He can come out and do well and they'll win, or they're going to come out and he's going to throw like 3-4 picks and look like retirement Ben, So
I'm going to tell you the game I want to see.
What's that?
I'm going to tell you the game I want to see. Bengals Raiders is going to be fireworks.
Yeah.
That game's going to be fireworks, bro. Because I don't think people realize how explosive the Bengals offense is. I think people got a taste of it when they played Kansas City in the Romo game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Jamar Chase went nuts. Those of us like myself who had him in the fantasy, championship round. But Joe Burrow is fearless.
Mm-hmm.
You have a great running back in Joe Mixon, one of the best in the league right now. And I have, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I think they have the best receiving core in the league, because I get a guy in Jamar Chase, wherever he catches the football, he's gone. I have a great slot receiver in Tyler Boyd, and I have DeAndre Hopkins Part 2 and T. Higgins, who's catching everything right now and mossing people in double coverage out of their souls. So, and then I got a quarterback who can put it wherever he wants.
Yeah.
The Bengals are scary to me, but this Raiders game is fascinating because the Raiders have just been going around with Rich Bisaccia and losing players and losing coaches and beating people. The Raiders aren't supposed to be here, man.
Carr is don't sleep on Carr, man.
Carr's ready to get his flowers, man. Put some respect on my name.
Yeah, we'll see, man. If I'm
a matchup offensively though with those two, the way that they can score.
I mean, is there an over-under on that one? Let's see. That over-under is 49. So,
the only one that's higher is our game at 51.
Yeah, the highest is 51. 49.5 for the Cardinal game. It's a lot of points, but yeah, I think if anybody's going to put up that many points, it could be that game. So I think that's going to have a Big 12 feel to it, that game.
And the thing too is, like, if you're Joe Burrow and you're watching what Justin Herbert was able to do when he had time against the Raiders secondary, dude, he's got better weapons than Herbert had to work with in that game. And so I'm just like, and he's got a better run game. Some of those dudes out there on the Raiders, no disrespect, they're food.
Yeah.
Dak put up 380 on him in Thanksgiving, and he didn't even have Amari or CeeDee Lamb and still put up 380 on the Raiders secondary. So something to pay attention to, especially those of you who are betting. There will be prop bets on BUSR. So if somebody wants to bet on, certain amount of catches, Amari Cooper over under 5 receptions, over under 55 yards, things of that sort, over under Jamar Chase 100 yards, go to BUSR.com. If you're feeling good, you're feeling frisky, you want to put some money down, love to have you. BUSR.com/fanatic. Make sure you got to show your boy some love. So sign up on my site on the promo code Sports100FP. Let's get it on the promo. And y'all go on Twitter. If you like what Jimmy's talking about, Jimmy's very active on Twitter, engaging with everybody. Texas State Johnson. Jimmy, I appreciate you coming on the show, brother.
Always good time. Always good time. And go Cowboys.
Go freaking Cowboys. Jimmy will be there. Jimmy's going to be there. And when he leaves, he's not going to have a voice because he's given the team all the energy they could possibly give to help will them to victory, like we all are supporting the Dallas Cowboys. I appreciate y'all. We'll be back later. Peace.